Hi and welcome. I'm Mara SCHILLACI. I am a psychic medium, a Reiki master, and a metaphysical teacher that's based in Drummond, KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa. And welcome to Blame versus Responsibility. Now, I totally get not like the sexiest topic to talk about, like fully on board with that. But I really do feel that it's one of those things that when people are going through their transition spiritually and when we are healing from any situation. It can be a divorce, it can be the loss of any kind of relationship, it can be, difficult parental relationships. That at the end of the day, in order for us to move forward effectively, we need to be able to look at where we are laying blame in our lives. And to be fair, this isn't just situational, this can actually be about any area in our lives. And where we need to step up and take responsibility for what we've done. So today I just want to talk a little bit about that. It's it's quite a tricky one because from children we kind of train ourselves to work with blame. Okay, we kind of become codependent on blame in a number of different ways without even knowing it. It's an unwitting kind of partnership that we create. And why I say that is because from the time that we are little children, we learn that blame can get us out of situations. Okay. So, for example, you playing with your mates, and what happens? Somebody breaks somebody else's flower pot, some mom's flower pot, right? And you may have been the person that instigated the whole incident, but you didn't actually put, your hand wasn't actually on the pot when it broke. As children, we taught that it's okay to then, well, we're not taught that it's okay, but we are, in a way, socially programmed by our peers to, accept blame as a norm. So the person that broke the pot then gets into blame, is blamed for it and gets into trouble, where we kind of become, free of what our hand in that situation was. The person who breaks the pot then becomes the scapegoat, right? And we kind of continue that throughout our entire lives. When we come out of bad relationships, the person that's broken our heart or that has ended the relationship is always the one to blame. They're always the one that has, created this devastating situation in our lives that we can't control. If we have situations with parents that are difficult, they to blame. They've created these awful like parental situations for us that have traumatized us and created drama in our lives. And so it goes. As we go on through life, we blame other people for our circumstances. Okay. Now, I did that for the longest time. I'm you know I've spent so much of my life in blame. I've spent so much time blaming other people, blaming situations, for my weight, for the life, for not living the life I'd wanted to live, for not being where I wanted to be, for the loss of my marriage, for a number of different things in my life. I spent my entire young adulthood blaming everybody else. And it took me losing my marriage in order for me to go, something's not working here. I need to readjust how I feel about this, how I'm working with this. And through my process of healing, through working with Reiki and getting myself to where I wanted to be and starting to really step into my path that I'm on now, I started to understand how absolutely devastating blame is in our lives. From my own point of view, I mean, I joke about it, like it's an actual joke. Like I continuously tell people, like I'm the Baroness of Blame. Like I have blamed everything you can possibly think of. So far as to go, I mean, this is really not like, the people who kind of go to McDonald's and blame them for them being overweight, kind of like that may be an extreme example, but in my own circle and in my own life, I've been that person. Like I have blamed the most ridiculous things on my weight condition and on my life not being where I want to be. Also, understanding that from the very get go, I knew that my weight issue was something that held me back in my life. It was something that I found debilitating. So instead of taking responsibility for it and stepping up and changing it, I would blame, because then it was somebody else's problem. Okay. And it's something that I really and truly believe in. Blame is the gateway to excuse. It allows us not to be proactive in our lives. It allows us to sit back and go, but I can't change this because it's on somebody else's plate. And we don't have to then. We don't have to engage in our lives. We don't have to take responsibility for what we don't want to. We don't have to get up and do what needs to be done in order for us to be where we want to be. Okay, so I understand that I'm using my stuff as an example, but it's probably the most relatable way that I can do this for you. So when I was younger, I had a very bad fall. I had been very proactive in school. I'd been sent off to boarding school very young, and absolutely thrived. I was first team everything in sport, loved my sport, was proactive, was really thriving in my environment. I took a really bad fall that broke, I think it was like 14 bones, compressed my spine. It was a really bad one. And they thought that I was going to be paralyzed. As a consequence of that, I wasn't, thankfully, but I wasn't allowed to do sport throughout my high school period. So that 5-year period, because of my spinal injury, I wasn't allowed to do sport. So that became my story. It was fabulous. I didn't have to then be proactive. It allowed me not to have to engage in things that I found challenging with physical activity. I then got to go through my first relationship and be, just gain this astronomical amount of weight because I felt unloved because she was always working and work was so much of a priority, and all of those things had become a factor in me gaining weight, that I couldn't exercise my back, even though now we were way past that 5-year mark. We were at the 10, 12, 13-year mark. Okay, so if I'd been responsible and I'd gotten myself together, I would have then been able to actually start exercising again and doing it properly, and actually getting myself into some kind of strong state again, building my body, building myself up. But I didn't. I blamed my accident on these injuries that I had that were debilitating, that weren't allowing me to do what I needed to do, and I passed the buck. So cue first relationship, and then I start getting morbidly obese because I'm at university studying. I've got a part-time job, but my first partner is always at work, so I'm alone. So instead of managing my life with a great group of friends that I've got, a great life that I've got, I ate through my pain. Okay, so I ate through that loneliness. And now understand that in no way at all, at any point, did, you know, her working hours, let's just take her working hours as an animate kind of object. Never did they come and arrive with pizzas and Coke, because at the time it was vanilla Coke, that was my absolute favorite, and cream donuts and chips and chocolates and burgers and things like that. At no point did her working hours ring my doorbell and go, "Oh, by the way, Mara, we just popped by. We thought we'd drop off pizza for you because I know you're not feeling great, and she's at work again." And it never happened. It was me. It was on me all the time. I made conscious choices to continue feeding myself. And I still do. I absolutely still do. I made conscious choices to hide in my pain, hide my pain through eating when I went through my divorce. So I had gone through this whole process of losing all of this weight, got really skinny, and then my ex left. And it wasn't just a partner, it was my wife. She left, she just walked away. And so I chose again consciously to go back to the same cycle and eat again. So then I sat and I was overweight again, and my life had fallen apart. So I blamed the end of my marriage for my life being the way it is, that it isn't where I wanted it to be, that I'm not happy, that, now please don't, when I say I'm not happy, don't misunderstand. I'm happy within my life now. I've done the work to get to where I wanted to be. But at that time, it felt like my world had come to an end because my marriage had ended. And instead of sitting back and going, okay, where can I take responsibility to change this? Where can I throw myself into my life to get to where I need to be? I spent 2.5 years in a state of absolute and utter blame. And let me tell you, it kept me stagnated. So the one thing I've learned through my own healing and dealing with my clients constantly is that we keep ourselves in spaces, okay? And those spaces are transient, but they change. But we tend to keep ourselves in negative thought patterning and programming a lot. It seems to be kind of a human condition with us, because when we can feel sorry for ourselves and when we can justify our inaction and our lack of responsibility, we seem to feel better. okay? Because it's not on us, it's on somebody else. Now, obviously, that's not how we want to live. We want to move forward strong and powerful and standing in our self-power, okay? Now, if we don't do that, for all of those of you who know the chakra system, our solar plexus is going to implode. It's going to collapse in on itself because we're going to lack the willpower, the motivation, the determination, all of those things that need to actually happen for us, all of those things that are going to drive us to get us to where we need to be. Okay. And if we're not doing those things, if we're not doing and making the decisions, let's say, rather than doing, if we're not making the decisions that we need to make in order to get to where we need to be, then we're in trouble. We are in trouble because we're just going to be that little flipping blog in the middle of the ocean bobbing because we are not proactively trying to direct ourselves in any way of any benefit to ourselves. We are directionless and we are bobbing. And it took me so long to realize how much of my power I'd given away to blame. You name it, I blamed it. Literally. I went back so far as that I blamed the fact that I went on my first diet at 2 years old, and it was horrific. I blamed the end of my marriage for losing everything, for having to start all over again. But the truth of the matter is I didn't actually fight for anything, because at that time my thought process was, it doesn't matter what I fight for, it's not going to bring her back. And so I was working from my heart, not from my head. And if I look back now, and I think the lessons that I've learned have gotten me to where I've needed to be, so I probably wouldn't change it. But I would, if I had changed my thought processes around it, it wouldn't have been the struggle it has been. Okay. And I think one of the main things I want people to take away from this is that when we delve in blame, when we sit in that space of blame, and we sit in a number of spaces, we sit in spaces of cycles, we sit in spaces of blame, we sit in spaces of guilt and shame and loneliness, and all of these things that kind of build up to a point. And when we get to a certain point with these things like blame, not so much blame, let's just say guilt and shame and anger and frustration and all of these different things that happen, anxiety, fear, we start looking for scapegoats. We start looking for something to make this not our fault. And that is a very, very, very dangerous cliff to be on. Because when you are looking at those kinds of issues and you're not dealing with them, you're not taking responsibility for them, okay, then we're starting to look at jumping over the cliff and falling into like this massive, massive bog of blame. And it's a place that we can stay at, and it is not a good place to be. All right. So when I'm working with clients, and even when I've worked with myself, I've learned to identify the cycles or the patterns that I'm going through, all right? And I've learned to look at the places that I'm sitting in at that time in space, all right? So I don't engage in blame anymore. I did for the longest time, and I've learned it's completely disempowering. It takes away every shred of my power, and it leaves me completely irresponsible. And the truth is, I want to say without control, but that's not actually true, because blame, we are in control of blame. We choose to blame. We just don't. It's one of those weird voids of emotion that kind of keep us feeling like we are controlless, when in actual fact, we are just in a state of negative control in our own space. And we, 9 times out of 10, we don't even realize it. So I don't engage in blame anymore. I stop myself when I can feel it happening. So if something comes up and I go, okay, that feels like blame to me. This feels like I'm going down that path again. All right. Why? What am I doing? What am I doing that is disempowering me at this point in time? And I sit with it. And you'll often hear people say, just sit with the emotion. And a lot of people say to me, what does it mean to sit with an emotion? A lot of people like who aren't into hocus pocus and who don't do this kind of work all the time, what does it mean to sit with an emotion? It's about sitting quietly and just sitting and feeling what you're feeling at that point, learning to identify the actual emotion. I do need to explain at this point, if you're looking at anger, anger is always a secondary emotion. Anger is never, ever, ever a primary emotion, ever. Okay, anger is going to be spurred on by something else. It's going to be spurred on by a defensive reaction. It's going to be spurred on by shame or guilt or fear. Okay, it's going to be spurred on by hurt or disappointment. It's going to be spurred on by a million different emotions, but it is never a primary emotion. Okay, so I know that we're not talking about anger, but what I'm trying to say is when you are sitting with your emotions and anger comes up, look at what the root of that is, because anger is not a primary emotion. It never is. There is always something behind the scenes pushing anger into center stage. Okay, so try and find out what that is, because that's where you're going to start sitting with it. And when you start finding that emotion, so for example, if I look back to my first relationship where I ate my way through that entire relationship, I mean, like, there were pizza massacres of mass proportion in that relationship. Like, I slaughtered pizzas and hamburgers and stuff like that. It was ridiculous. But if I look back to those times, that feeling of blame stemmed from loneliness. It came from me being lonely. And I wasn't proactive enough to pick up the phone. And I had an incredible group I always have my whole life. I've had this incredible group of friends. And it stopped me from picking up the phone and going, guys, can I please just, like, can we go out? Can we hang out? Let's go hang out. Like, or can I come for a brow? Or let's do something. I never did that. I chose to blame working hours on where I was at because it was easier at the time. Okay. And as you're moving forward, like with your healing and in situations that you want to move out of, you have to understand that we all have a role of responsibility in a situation, as awful as that sounds. Okay. And I think when you can own up to that, I think you've made massive steps in development spiritually, emotionally, and mentally already. It's huge. It's absolutely huge, because you're not sitting in a space of going, it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault. You're looking at going, okay, I've done this. How can I change this? So my biggest thing is that because I've been big most of my life, I'm unlovable. Okay, that's my favorite little thing. I'm unlovable because I'm big. Okay. Now I do other YouTube videos for my subscribers and things like that, and I have spoken about blame before, and I was speaking about it, and this whole thing around being unlovable came up because I've always blamed my weight. And I just simply used the example of the fact that I've always been adored. Like, my partners have always loved me. They always really have loved me. So that's not actually true. I haven't been proven it. What I didn't do at the time and what I've done subsequently is look at that and go, okay, so I have been loved, but why was blame a factor in that? Why would I blame my weight on that? And the truth is, I had to sit with that because I hadn't come to any conclusions when I was giving their kind of YouTube video at the time. But the truth of the matter is that I've chosen emotionally unavailable people in any which way, shape, or form. And the third relationship that I went into, the one that I married, was unavailable, but came with different packaging. So I felt like it was a different story. It was going to have a different ending. It wasn't the same product that I had bought as I had purchased in the past. But that wasn't true. At the end of the day, it was still an emotionally unavailable relationship. And I still chose to do it, thinking that because they'd asked me to marry them, the game was different. Okay. So I still then blamed my weight at the end of it, coming out of that divorce, going, so I'm not lovable big, I'm not lovable thin, because I was really thin by the time we had separated. And I was like, so then where's the in between? And it really did occur to me the other day. I sat after that and I thought, so I've given them the example of this, but I haven't actually thought about it for me. And I sat back and processed it, and I was like, oh, but hold on, actually I am choosing unavailable people. I'm choosing unavailable people. That's on me. That's my responsibility. I don't get to blame my weight for that. My weight doesn't say, come on, chick, get dressed, let's go out and try and find someone. And then my weight's not standing next to me at a bar going, okay, this one's quite cute. What do you think about that one? No, that one's really cute. Like, that doesn't happen. It's on me. So I have, over the last few years, obviously been working on myself and have been working out where exactly I want to be in my life, what kind of partner I want in my space. But the reality is that my weights had nothing to do with the failure of my relationships. It's had to do with the fact that I have chosen unavailable people emotionally. Now that's a game changer. So if you're looking at your life and you're sitting there going, oh, I'm not happy with this and I'm not happy with that and I don't understand, and you blaming the fact that they are narcissistic and they're blaming the fact that your partner before that was narcissistic, look at what the common denominator is there. Okay, what is the common denominator? Common denominator is you. You are choosing narcissistic people. Why? Find your why. Motivation in life is key. If the cops can't get you for motivation on murder, you're not going to go down. Motivation is huge. Okay? No, I'm not saying go and kill someone. I'm just saying that's how important motivation is. You know, if a criminal trial can go around on what motivation a person has on taking another life, like, you must know motivation's important. It's huge. So get it together. Sit there, look at your motivation and go, okay, what is it? And, you know, as you're going along your healing, obviously, not everybody has access to this information up front. That's what we are here for. We are here to assist you in that kind of stuff. So I understand that I now have a core wound of abandonment with a female energy running through it. So these people have come in to teach me that. I've chosen these emotionally unavailable people to come into my space so that I can start working on healing my core wound, which is great and which is what I'm doing, right? But until such time as you get to those, start looking at the clues and the signs around you. You don't want to be stuck in blame. Okay? Responsibility is so self-empowering that when you step into your power and you start taking responsibility for your decisions, it's a game changer completely. So for the longest time, even in my business, I sat there and I was like, I'm trying everything, and I'm so passionate about what I do, and I'm so this and I'm so that and I'm so next thing, and this is not where I wanted to be yet, and I'm not like I don't know, like I'm not like Colette Baron Reid yet, and I'm not like this and I'm not like that, and I've been, I guess, blaming my circumstances coming out of the divorce, going, I started on a back foot, and then da 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 da, and all of these things are to blame, that I'm not where I want to be. I don't have the opportunities, and I've had to sit back in the last couple of weeks and really look at that, and I've realized that I'm actually responsible for that. Not because I'm doing anything wrong, or not because my motivation isn't authentic, because my motivation for my business is passion. It's sheer passion. I love what I do. I love the stuff. I love the hocus pocus woo woo, playing with, I mean, come on, people. I get to play with cards and crystals and have outside altars where I can go and meditate, and life is fantastic. But what I didn't look at was how responsible I am with the energy of impatience in my business. My business is like 3 years old. Okay, so, everybody that I've been comparing myself to have been going for 10, 15, 20, 30 years. There's a huge difference in time frame with that. But there I am, sitting there, and the more you reiterate that things are not working for you, let me explain to you, if you know anything about your chakra system, that is going to be something that you are pulling in, you are assimilating, and your chakra system is trying to transmute that and push it out again, but you're going to be pulling that same story into your system 7 times constantly, which means that your thought processes are then creating your reality, which is what I have been doing for the longest time. Okay, I have taken responsibility for those, and the game has changed literally within a week. And it's not to say that I now have 3 million followers. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that the energy of my business feels very different. I'm definitely enjoying what I need to do far more. And more than that, people are being attracted to the energy that's happening in my business because there's no blame. It's responsibility and it's passion. And I'm clear on my motivation and I'm clear on where I want to go. And there is a lack of impatience in it. Okay. There is always an undercurrent, emotion, feeling, whatever you want to call it, running through why we are blaming something. Always. Okay. And the minute you can start identifying that, the minute you can start playing with that, the minute you can start working with that, and you can start taking responsibility for where you at, things are going to change for you. They cannot not change. Because even if you don't win the lotto the next day, what's going to happen is you're going to be proactive about getting your stuff together and getting yourself organized for what needs to be done. And the minute you do that, the minute you activate that, the universe steps up and goes, "Ah, she's come to the party. Welcome. Have some champagne." And then things start falling into place for you. Why? Because the universe is like a massive, I tell all my clients this, the universe is like a massive radio station. And for the longest time, I think I've been sitting again in a state of blame. The universe doesn't love me. I've asked for this and it's not happening. The universe doesn't love me. And like they go cue the violins in the corner. And what actually is the truth is that it's like this massive radio. So you want to tune into Successful Business FM and you're sitting down here at the universe doesn't love me. They are completely different frequencies, right? The universe does not read good energy, bad energy, evil energy. So that $1 million question as to why every drug dealer is a multimillionaire, well, it's because they expect to be multimillionaires. The universe is not going to judge that. It's not. That's not the universe's job. The universe's job is to be limitless possibilities and to bring to us whatever we need, right? So when we take ourselves out of blame and we step into responsibility and go, okay, this is what I want, and we level up to that same frequency of what we want, because blame does lower your frequency. It's a lower level. It's like a little goblin, man. It's sitting there just pulling you down constantly. When we start taking responsibility and we go, okay, let's get this done, you level up to the same frequency, and that stuff that you want then starts coming to you. The universe is never going to withhold something from you. You're going to do that from yourself because you're not stepping into your own power. And it's been such a big lesson for me. And it's a lesson I've had to learn a couple of times, mind you. I really am a slow learner, like I kid you not. Like currently having bumper stickers printed. But at the end of the day, when you step into your personal power and you get all of the stuff going, it's incredibly empowering and it's incredibly beautiful to watch how the universe just falls into play. I'm not joking when I say this 1 week where everything's kind of changed for me. I've literally had miracles happen, things that phone calls that have literally dropped opportunities into my lap that when I say never expected, I mean literally could never have expected. And I'm really not the one to say that willy-nilly, because I've learned a long time ago that being inauthentic is just not worth my time, and I don't have the energy for it, and I don't have enough crowns in my box for it. Things start to shift when you do. Okay, when you step up and you start taking responsibility and you do what needs to be done. Okay. The one thing I do want to talk about quickly though is it's very easy to transfer blame to yourself. Okay, now that is a huge problem, because what I'm talking about is we normally like to blame others because they're scapegoats. But what we can't be doing is if something's gone wrong through your own choice, there is no point sitting there and blaming yourself. None. That's even worse than blaming somebody else. Because what happens then is your entire system starts going into shutdown. So now you're not only disempowering yourself and are not only affecting your solar plexus chakra, but now what you're going to do is you're going to create a sense of fear in yourself, because now you're not going to trust yourself because, oh my God, that's my fault. I'm making bad decisions. So boom, just take your base chakra out of the situation. Then we hit your sacral chakra. So now you're feeling guilty because you're making bad decisions for yourself. Boom, there goes your sacral chakra. So in effect, your three lower chakras are becoming non-existent. Not only that, you are hitting your third eye, because your third eye is about illusion. The shadow side is illusion. So you are not seeing things as they really are. You are tainting them with self-pity and self-blame and guilt and shame. So boom, there goes your third eye. So seeing the bigger picture, seeing that there's more out there, all of these things start affecting your system. And again, now you're just bringing a different kind of blame energy into your system that you're going to transmit and carry on going for however long. How is that helping you? Like, really, in the history of the world, like, has it ever helped anybody to blame somebody? Never, ever, ever. So at the end of the day, when you start looking at situations in your life that you're wanting to change and you're wanting to proactively change, and I mean this seriously, because, oh God, trust me, some of this stuff has taken me bloody years to get through. Seriously, I'm not even joking. But when you sit and you look at these situations, see where you are allocating blame, because it could actually just be directed at you, in which case just drop that shit, because it's not going to serve you. It really is not serving you at all. You do not need to blame yourself for anything. Blame, again, it's the same thing, but it's even more trapping, because now what helps, what happens is you start keeping yourself in a space of not trusting yourself either. Because why would you trust yourself? You've made these bad decisions, so why would you trust yourself? Step away from that vehicle. It's not going to save you at all. It's not going to help you. It's not going to be there. Don't blame other people. You know what? Yes, your ex may be, like lower than the low, but you chose that. You chose that. So take a step back from that and go, okay, you know what? I chose that. I need to take responsibility for that and make sure that that never, ever happens again. Work on your self-worth. Work on your boundaries. Work on all of the things that are going to empower you so you don't make those choices again. So you're not sitting there with another narcissistic person ordering you around to go and get beers from the fridge and being verbally abusive and neglecting you and not giving you what you need. Okay, whatever it is in the situation, I'm very clear on things, and I guess sometimes people think I'm a little bit like maybe a little bit heartless, and that's really not the case. But in all of this process, I've learned that the only person that can save you is you. Okay, nobody's coming to save you. So that's just categoric. And I've also learned that if I don't take care of me, nobody else is going to take care of me. Again, it's that whole universal radio. If I'm not putting out into the world that I need to be taken care of, that I am worth being taken care of, that I am a worthy being, all right? If you're trying to find somebody in your space, just take that as an example, a partner, you're not going to attract that kind of partner that's going to come into your space and value you. If you can't value you, you're not going to attract somebody else that's going to value you. Do you see how this is kind of working? And when we start taking ourselves out of blame, whether it be at other people or at yourself, rather I don't engage in it. I can't engage in blame anymore. And I have moments where I kind of slip in a little bit and I feel, and then I'm like, whoa, this feels very, very familiar. I don't like this feeling, because at some point I'm going to disempower myself and this is not where I want to be anymore. So then I take a step back and I'm like, okay, so now how do I change this? How can I be more proactive about this? And I start looking at how I can take responsibility for where I'm going and for what needs to be changed. Okay. And, you know, I've worked with so many people who've come to me in states of blame and they don't even realize it. And that's the thing. I think that's the really, really, really dangerous thing about blame. It kind of comes under the guise of I'm your friend and I can make you feel better, but it doesn't. It doesn't make you feel better. Blaming somebody for something, irrespective of what the situation is never going to make you feel better. It's going to actually make you feel worse, especially long term. And what it's going to do is it's going to put everything that you're wanting in your life and everything you're wanting to be, everything that you're wanting to do, everywhere you're wanting to go, it's going to put all of that on hold. So when I get to clients who are looking at this kind of situation, I kind of ask them, and I've had to ask myself this a million times, what do I need to release to get to where I want to be? And 9 times out of 10, it's been blame for whatever reason, whatever reason. So I kind of hope that this has given you some idea of why I'm so proactive and so pro responsibility in our lives. I get that adulting's hard and we have to do it all the time and it's not always fun. But what I can say is that the more you step into it, the more it becomes a habit. And the more you learn those blame triggers, and the more you can learn those blame triggers, the quicker you're going to get out of the spaces that you're keeping yourself in. And we do keep ourselves in spaces. We literally do keep ourselves in spaces. So I really, really hope that you sit back and have a look at this. Take responsibility for the things that you can. Stop blaming those or yourself or the universe or whatever it is that you're blaming, and get proactive. Engage in your life. Breathe it in. Breathe it in, because I promise you, when you start doing that and you get your motivation straight and you are really like seriously, seriously engaging in your space and you being present in it. Because remember, blame Blame keeps us in the past as well. You have to understand that, because it's something that has happened. It's not something that is happening now. Very seldom. It could possibly be, but it's very seldom that it's happening now. 9 times out of 10, it's something that has happened because we look at it in retrospect. Okay. But move forward. There's so much life to live out there. Go and live it. Go and get it. There is so much to do out there and to be and to see. Don't hold yourself back because you're not taking responsibility for what you want. I've done it for the longest time, and I can tell you it has not served me at all. It has delayed my hopes and my dreams and my healings, and it just hasn't been worth it. It really hasn't. So I really, really hope that this kind of helps you a little. I hope that it gives you some kind of inclination as to why. I really do feel like this is a very important topic. Like, I do feel like this is something that people at a core level need to engage with when they are trying to heal or move on, especially on your spiritual path, because you learn on your spiritual path that you are the only one. That's it. It's you. And it's not to say that your friends aren't there to help you out or to be with you or to give you a hand. But at the end of the day, it is your path, and you walk your path for you. So if you have to do things that mean cutting ties or stepping away from, and I'm not talking about willy-nilly and necessarily, but if it is for your highest good and you know on a soul level that you no longer align with people or a situation, um instead of blaming those people or situations for being in your space, take responsibility for yourself and lose what you don't align with, because it is literally excess baggage that's weighing you down. It's like getting to board a flight and you've got excess baggage that you don't really need, but you've brought it with anyway, so you're going to pay the extra grand or two to take it with you on your trip when you don't actually need it. That's constantly what we're doing for ourselves and to ourselves. So I really am sending you so much love. Thank you for joining me. And I look forward to hopefully connecting with some of you in the future. Have a beautiful, beautiful day.